to our second episode of Connections, the Heart of Early Childhood podcast. Today we're here with the Early Childhood Education and Care Department Cabinet Secretary, Elizabeth Groginsky. In this episode, Katrina and I talk with the Secretary about her department's spring tour.
Dawn, I am so excited that we are here at the NMAEYC conference. We can definitely see that spring is here. The campus of the University of New Mexico is in full bloom. Students are relaxing on the grass, the trees and flowers are beginning to bloom, and the NMAEYC participants are eager to learn and grow in person once again.
We invite you to make yourself comfortable, pull up a chair, take a stroll, as we get to know more about our Cabinet Secretary and her hopes for our young children and their families.
Good morning, Dawn, and good morning, Cabinet Secretary Elizabeth Groginsky. I'm so happy that you're here with us today for our podcast. How are you doing this morning?
I am doing wonderful. I'm here at the NMAEYC conference and excited to be with so many incredible early childhood professionals. So thank you for inviting me.
Yes, well, we're happy to have you today. So we're super excited that we're sitting down, aren't we, Dawn? That this opportunity.
I'm so excited to have this be this start of the Week of the Young Child with the interview with you. We couldn't be more pleased.
Thank
you for spending some time with us this morning.
Yes, it's so wonderful to be, you're right, celebrating the Week of the Young Child. Mm-hmm. I like to celebrate the month of the young child, make it all of April.
Yes. So everyone listen to that. It's going to be all month long.
Yes.
So our first question we have for you is, what is your background and what led you into the field of early childhood education and care?
Well, thank you. It's been an incredible journey. It started in the late 90s. And I think what got me started was I had an opportunity to work at the University of Colorado at Denver in the Center for Human Investment Policy. I didn't know a lot about early childhood, but I had good research skills and some policy background. Mm-hmm. And they had just released the cost of quality study. And Colorado was one of the 4 states focused on in that study. And it showed that most care in the United States was poor to mediocre. And so there was a real call to action across the country and particularly in Colorado. So I had the chance to be an evaluator on an early childhood, a partnership in the city and county of Denver between early care and education programs. Head Start was part of that, and a lot of important resource partners like United Ways and the state departments and other important county human services departments. So I got Thelma Harms out from North Carolina to train our evaluators on the environment rating scale. And, I kind of learned by immersion through coming in as an evaluator of early childhood programs. And then quickly got the bug and saw all the excitement and had a great chance to go work at a Head Start program. And that's, I think, where I really began to feel the sense of how powerful this period of life is and how powerful the programs and services that support young children are when they come together, because Head Start is so comprehensive. You're not just thinking about the education of the child, you're thinking about the family and their goals and their direction, and you're thinking about the educators who are helping all of them. How are they doing? It was a big push during that time, during the Clinton administration, to invest in early childhood educators. They changed the performance standards and said we needed to pursue bachelor's degrees and associate's degrees. And so I came into Head Start at that moment and just saw the power of investing in the people who serve our children and families and investing in the community.
That's such a great story. And I just wanted to say just a little personal thing right now. So my mom was a single mom whenever I was young. And I was in probably, the early Head Starts when they first started. And I totally love Head Start. I mean, my mom didn't even graduate from high school. And here I am. I have a PhD in human development and family studies. And I really think it has a lot to do with Head Start and with how they bring in the families and they help families to be educators as well. And so I have that love for Head Start, just like I hear you have.
Awesome.
So
that is so great, Dawn. And probably because you saw your mom doing so many things, being involved either in the policy council or parent committee, you began to have that love of learning and of leading. Families come in and they're leading the program. I mean, that's why it has been such a tremendous impact in this country over now almost 56 years and or probably over 56 years. I always tag it with how old I am. But it's lasted because parents are at the center of it. And so I think that's when I come to early childhood, it really comes from that holistic system approach, because Head Start is very much of a system of supports, bringing together all the community partners, putting families at the center. Families are leading. And it just has fueled my career trajectory.
Oh my gosh. Well, you could just feel the love. And I got to tell you guys, like, I have the chills over here. If everyone was right here, like just the passion just coming through and seeing what you went through. And I mean, you were in the heart of it, right? Like you were connecting, you were going through this process. And I'm telling you that's amazing knowing that you were able to have the opportunity, but now you're here in New Mexico and you're bringing it all together. You're bringing those connections. And I mean, just even from when you first came to New Mexico, even now, look at it, 3 years into it, 2 years. Yeah. It feels like 3, but 2 years, look how much you've done then. Really stop thinking about that. Like, let's think about that. You came in and it's been 2 years, and guys, it's been a pandemic too. And look at how much has been done and the connections. And we want to continue those connections, and you can just feel it, what you're doing.
Absolutely. And I think the other opportunity I had in Colorado was under Governor Ritter and Lieutenant Governor O'Brien. I was appointed as the Head Start Collaboration Director. And that gave me the opportunity to then take that experience and go around the state and see Head Start and early Head Start programs, working in partnership with school districts and other early childhood programs, and to just see the diversity of how we deliver early childhood services. And that it's so important that we have that opportunity to deliver things differently in different parts of our state. And that I feel has been, very much a guiding post for me, and why in a state like New Mexico, with the incredible diversity we have here in our small rural communities, urban, very large, like here in Albuquerque, versus in our tribal, tribal communities. We have to think like that. We have to build a system that allows for that diversity and that supports the diversity and bringing forward great outcomes for children and families.
Yeah. Oh, makes me so excited.
Right. Which brings me to our next question. So since you've been here for 2 years, I know a lot's been accomplished, but what do you consider the ECECD's top accomplishments?
Yes. Well, I think one of the most important ones, and we cannot underestimate it, was the Early Childhood Trust Fund. Now, I can't take the credit for it. It was our amazing governor, Michelle Lujan Grisham, who had the incredible idea to say, it's great we have a new department. Bringing everything together is going to help us be stronger and more aligned. But we know these programs are underfunded. So what are we going to do? We have to do something to set about a trajectory for this department to receive additional funding. So that Early Childhood Trust Fund that we put the $300 million in there, hoping it would grow year over year into something that potentially the department would get up to $50 million a year, is now over $2 billion. It's going to be over $2 billion.
Let's go ahead and go to give her a little whoop, 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 whoop.
Exactly. And so it's just been fantastic because we know then that we can dream big. Because we have a trust fund that will support those dreams. So that was huge. I think the other one was our ability in the pandemic to act so swiftly to get the American Rescue dollars out to stabilize childcare. We, we knew that the providers were barely hanging on. Enrollment was so low. So the funding wasn't coming in. The revenues weren't there to sustain. They were grappling with all the COVID safe practices and health and safety practices, which were costing them more money, which were stressing out their staff. And so to be able to put out $160 million in a short, 6-7 months, we just made our last payment to almost 1,000 early childhood providers across the state. And we have heard great things. They're increasing wages. They're doing bonuses. They're renovating their playgrounds. They're renovating bathrooms and other things that they had to just forego for years. And they're putting it back into their programs and making them more high quality.
Yeah, that high quality programs. And I love that you use that, because that's definitely what we want all children to have, is that high quality, care. And that's what we're giving children here in New Mexico.
Exactly.
And I just think how lucky we are to have people that see these changes do take a while.
Yes.
But you guys know that. You guys know that if we invest now, we will have those better child outcomes later.
That's exactly right.
And I think, just having that forethought is so important because I think for some people that's kind of difficult for them to think that far ahead.
Yes.
But to really know that this is going to make a huge difference. In 10 years, just think where those kiddos are going to be. It's going to be amazing.
It's going to be great. I think the other substantial thing that I'm very proud that we did was we stepped forward as outside of the District of Columbia, the first state in the nation to do the cost estimation model to set our childcare subsidy rates. We are able to now show policymakers, advocates, and others, how far off our subsidy rates, as high as they were, and they were very good in New Mexico, from the actual cost of delivering care. So very proud of the work that the team did and working with all the early childhood advocates across the state, providers, associations like NMAYC and the Head Start Association, Child Care Resource and Referral, to build a model that reflects New Mexico and that says we can do better. We have to, especially for family childcare.
Right.
That we did not have a salary, that at the end of the day, a family childcare provider who's working oftentimes 12, 13 hours a day,
with
7 days a week, with no break.
breaks.
We haven't even built into the rate the fact that at the end of the year, they'd have a salary. So that was game changing, I think, for family childcare. And so I feel really good about those systemic investments that we made in our first 2 years. And then just those tangible things like the childcare stabilization, the $11.5 million for early childhood childcare professionals to get that $1,500 one-time incentive. Just making sure that we were taking care of the people who were taking care of the children as we move forward, though, to make more of those systemic changes that are going to serve us in the long run.
Right.
To make even more changes.
Not just those kids, those children when they grow up, but they'll have their better outcomes. But then they're going to be having their own kids and implementing those skills that they learned as a child. And so it's just going to continue that cycle and just get better and better.
That is right, Dawn.
So I'm really excited about that here in New Mexico.
That's great. I'm excited too.
As you began traveling around the state, visiting local early childhood stakeholders as a part of your 2022 spring tour, what are some of your biggest takeaways?
This is a very large state.
Yes. And I hope you have a cool RV that you're traveling around in.
We talk about it all the time. We're like, we need the ECECD RV. We need the T-shirt.
So our governor, hey, can we please get a cool RV?
Outfitted, but it is the warmth of all the people who we see and the different ways that they deliver early childhood education, early care and education. We went to Mosquero, this very micro district, just down from Roy and in between the middle of nowhere. But then here is this village really of people. And they're thinking about the needs of the families that they serve. So I've loved seeing the different individualization, all the way out to Clayton, almost at the Oklahoma border. And they are thinking about how they're going to support their educators by getting childcare available to their teachers right there in the school building. Childcare is the number one theme that comes up across every community because everybody has people who need to work or going to school, but mostly the employment issue, and childcare is a big barrier. So we're talking with them, but the creativity, the energy, the enthusiasm that people are showing and opening up their homes. If we come, I went to visit a family childcare home in Clovis, had a great visit with Emmerich out in Clovis. They invited in the community. So everywhere we go, we hold a community roundtable. So just inviting families and everybody who's part of the prenatal to 5 system, because I can't visit everybody, but we've had higher ed, home visiting, early intervention, childcare, all city superintendents. And it's been amazing. So the purpose is really for me to learn and to understand more the diversity, the complexity, the challenges that we have here in New Mexico, but also the incredible opportunities. And there are some stellar individuals out there across, and because you work with them too, and you see the excitement and the passion. Amy down in Mosquero, who is implementing Connect for Learning and is working on that and serving all children with so many diverse needs, but so excited about her own learning, her own development, and sharing that with others. So
awesome.
we have a real opportunity here to connect people.
Yes.
And for us as a new department to help make some of those connections and for me to meet amazing people.
Yes.
I think those connections you said for people to make connections is really important because the state is so large. Like you said, in those rural areas, it can be hard and difficult if you are the only person.
Exactly.
And so to be able to have those connections and not feel isolated is really important.
And I love that you keep saying connection, because that's really what this whole podcast is about, is bringing people together and connecting and just supporting one another. And, you know, that diversity is really amazing here in New Mexico. And we want to foster it and we want to be able to support each other. But knowing that you're going out there and you're connecting with people and you're seeing what everyone's doing and, you know, warm hands opening up saying, come on in, you know, I know COVID's still there, but you know, it's kind of tearing off maybe a little bit. Come in for a hug, like come see what I'm doing.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right, Katrina. And in Las Vegas was probably our most diverse community roundtable. We had the president of Luna Community College, the dean of Highlands University College of Education, the firstborn home visiting program, childcare programs, the Las Vegas, West Las Vegas School District superintendent, parents. And it was amazing because they were talking to each other. They were asking us great questions and we were turning it back to their community members and saying, what do you think? What do you think about what families are saying? So it's a generative opportunity where you're getting ideas and you're sharing ideas. And they are also one of our sites of our local early childhood system building grants. And the superintendent in the school district is going to serve as the fiscal agent. So they were excited about what's to come there for the Las Vegas community.
That's very exciting. And to think about sparking that collaboration between all of those community members that maybe didn't think of it, of everybody that actually is involved in early childhood education and care. And what a great thing to be happening.
Just that cross connecting is what I love. The cross connecting. The more we can do, the better that we're going to be as a state here in New Mexico.
Absolutely. We can't do it in silos.
No,
we can't. It just is not going to work.
Yeah.
As they say, you know, I mean, you hear me say a lot, you know, every system is perfectly designed to get the results that it gets.
Yes.
And so that's why we need a serious system redesign. Because we're seeing children arriving at school. They don't have the skills and the competencies they need to be successful. Families are stressed. They're having a hard time and maybe challenged with connecting with their children. So we have to make sure that the way we operate here in New Mexico helps families, helps children, and helps absolutely the people who work and serve them and educate and care for them every day.
Yes. That shifting and really being focused. You know, we're focusing, we have a target. We really want to support like our families and our children, and that social emotional development is what I'm just thinking, that social emotional development. We have to have that. And we have to be able to support families and children and communities and, you know, building those strategies so that they have that foundation to build upon.
You're exactly right. That's so strong. I mean, that's where Head Start started. I mean, that was the purpose, was to build those social and emotional skills. And I still think they're the most critical and the most foundational, whether it's the ability to persist.
So you have two people who agree with you right here.
Head Start. Let's give you a little snaps.
Yes,
exactly. It's everything. I mean, you get frustrated. How do I handle it? How do I listen for understanding? Like, how do I know what I'm saying? That's all in that executive function and the social and emotional. So we cannot put that as a side thing. It has to be foundational.
Are such a huge part of it because the children are at school for so many hours, but then they're at home how many more hours? And you have to have that continuity of what they're learning. So that way it really becomes that foundation for them. Otherwise, they're going back into an environment that may be something totally different. And they may end up choosing to follow, that may have a stronger influence on them. So we really want that collaboration between families and helping parents to be better parents.
Because Because they don't if they don't understand that child development, children are going to do these things, and that's a good thing.
Yes.
But it's frustrating to you as a parent because you don't know that that's actually a good thing, that your child is like running away and coming back. Yes, exactly.
That they are so stubborn.
Exactly. Or that they're like running out to see like where's their boundary and coming back, and if you're like holding them because you're afraid of, that something's going to happen to them, then that limits their development. And so how do we help parents really truly understand the milestones and development and the role that they play? So I think we're doing good work here in New Mexico on that, but we need families more at the center, I believe, of the work that we're doing.
Yes. So families, if you're listening, hey, keep tuning in with us and, know that we want to connect with you and just make that difference too, and supporting you with what you guys need in your homes and what works for you guys.
And actually, you were talking about your spring tour.
Yes.
So where can individuals, whether they're families or teachers or whoever, where can individuals or programs find a list of the remaining spring tour locations, and how can they sign up to participate in one of those local listening sessions?
Yes. So it's on our website, nmececd.org is where they can go and they can see the flyer. And we are working to get everything as far out as we can, especially for that community listening session. But they can also contact, and Helen is going to love me for giving out her email address.
Thank you, Helen.
Podcast. She goes, I've never received so many emails. Is Helen T.Quintana@state.nm.us. Quintana, and that's on the flyer. So you'll be able to see where to call, where to email. And she has done a tremendous job. I would not be on tour without her because she has really pulled it together. And the reception, again, as soon as we say we're coming, I have like 7 invites in here, but we're making the most of the time. I take about 3 staff with me. And so we're able to talk with people, bring information back, and take photos and try to keep the energy going. I think we have such a need for, like, let's get back. This is so exciting. New department, trust fund. And then we were in lockdown. And now it's like, let's go back to that memory of the before time and let's get back where we're communicating, we're in person with each other, and just the communities need so much. And you see them all the time. People are feeling pretty wiped out. So whatever we can do to inspire them. And
how empowering too, to know that you are listening. I mean, I'm just thinking about, I think sometimes teachers may not feel like their needs are really listened to. And so what an empowering opportunity this is for them to have you all listen to them and take those, and parents too, and take their thoughts and their needs and their wants into consideration and really building a better system.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, Dawn. I was talking to the staff saying, we've got to do some of these listening sessions at night because of early childhood educators and families who, may not be able to be there. So Helen and I were just talking this week, and I said, I want to hear from early childhood educators. I go and I visit them in their classroom, but they've got their students and they're busy or they're with the babies. I got to visit the grads program in Portales.
Oh, I love Portales.
Oh my God. Yeah. Have you been there? I mean, it was.
Yes. We actually, how we met, I started working. I was over the early childhood education program at ENMU, and Katrina was actually a master teacher at the CDC on campus.
I visited the CDC.
Isn't she so cute?
So cute?
And she was one of the people that interviewed me and brought me to New Mexico.
Yes, on the panel when she came.
Well, this is good. We all have a connection now. Yes, I had dinner with President Caldwell from EMNU and ENMU and Dr. Cook. I met Dr. Cook and some of the faculty there. It was incredible. Yeah, the Casey, I think, is the new CDC director.
Yes.
And she was great. She walked us around. She's passionate about building a better system and helping get better childcare in the Portales area. She's very concerned about that. But then the grads program, that was another connection point at the high school.
High school,
so fun. Little babies. And we got to meet some of the young parents and they were coming for their class. So many good gems, all around the state. Grads is actually one of our greatest gems here in New Mexico that we need to elevate and make
very
sure
foster that and really support
exactly
that elevation. I love the elevation word that you use, because I'm thinking we want to elevate everyone. We really want to bring this energy for everyone, so that everyone's spirits start kind of coming up even more, and just like kind of throwing parties every time we see each other. You know, like,
I like it.
You know,
exactly
just
right.
we want that energy. Because,
we need it.
You know,
need it. We're all like
the little fatigue. You know, like, okay, let's come behind. Let's get back out and visit with people, have those connections, and
make it, break down the isolation.
Yes,
so people feel that we don't, we either don't understand or we're disconnected.
Yeah.
And I think there has been a lot of social isolation, which we know from early childhood is detrimental to our good development.
Yeah.
So I know you're doing the tour. What are some other current strategies that are being used by the ECECD to build community among all of the early childhood professionals? Because it's such a diverse group of people.
It really is. It is incredible to think about that sometimes. I know. I was like, some of my other cabinet secretaries, I'm like, okay, you go work with the schools, and you're like there, and you go work with the higher ed institutions. And then we kind of have this whole cacophony of amazing players in the prenatal to 5 system. And so some of the things we're doing, one thing I'm very proud of is when we established the department, we have the first assistant secretary for Native American early education and care, Giovanna Archuleta, first in the nation, first in our state. We hope to see other states that have large tribal communities that they would also look at something like this, because we set out intentionally to say, okay, that's wonderful that we have an assistant secretary, but she can't do all this work by herself. There's 23 tribes, pueblos, and nations. So we established tribal liaisons in every program in the department. So I think we have 8 to 11, I forget.
Oh my goodness.
Family nutrition, childcare, pre-K, home visiting, families first, and early intervention. And they meet with her regularly, and they meet with the tribal education directors twice a month.
That is amazing.
That is
the dosage is key to success.
Exactly. And Giovanna was just saying, Assistant Secretary Archuleta was just saying the other day, when they started, they had maybe 8 or 9, people are checking us out. Like, are you for real? Like, are you really going to keep meeting with us? And she said, now they're over 50 people, consistent. And so that's just a wonderful community. When we did the one-time incentive payment, because we were using our licensing data system, we realized that our tribal communities were not part of that. So we did a separate one with them. There were almost 500 people working in our tribal early childhood programs across the state. So that was a nice eye opener.
That's exciting. My goodness.
And
500.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just thinking, and having 50 people consistently show up and attend the meetings, what a testament to what you all
the
are
assistant
doing
secretary.
Getting everybody together.
Exactly.
Connections.
Again, connections. Exactly. And then I think the other 2 groups that do an amazing job of this is our early intervention program. I mean, they are so connected with their providers. The Interagency Coordinating Council meets monthly, I believe monthly, and they always have a parent panel, very impactful. So we get to hear directly from parents. And then our home visiting, they also their quarterly, amazing collaborative meetings. We have over 330 home visitors across the state that are publicly funded. We have more that are funded in other ways. So those are ways that we're connecting. We're recently starting some listening sessions with families who receive the child care assistance or have applied for it, because we want to hear from them. What has your experience been? What were any of the challenges, and what can we do better to improve our process for child care assistance? And then I want to plug, it'll be coming out, I think, in the next couple weeks.
Let us know.
Yes,
Tell us.
is a statewide family survey. This is going to be a baseline survey that the department's going to use to measure our success. We're going to be asking families, have you heard of these programs? If you've heard of these programs, have you ever used them? And if you've used them, what's your experience been? And then we have some other questions to kind of find out how families are doing. Project Echo is our lead on this. We're doing it paper-based and electronic-based. They have engaged over 186 organizations around the state that are going to help distribute the survey.
Oh my
goodness. Because we want to hear from families all over the state, those who know about us or engaged, those who aren't, so we can get a better sense of what strategies we need to do to more effectively engage families.
That is amazing.
Having the agencies where families are interacting with be the ones that are providing the surveys is really going to be able to
We're going to get a better response, I think.
Much better
Mhm.
response. Yes.
And we're
have
doing
a clearer picture.
Exactly. And we are doing it, Dene, Vietnamese, I think Korean, Spanish,
Wow.
and English. So we have
and I
multiple
appreciate
language.
that too, just hearing like that's a huge shift,
Right.
thinking about all of that and actually having the survey in that.
Absolutely.
Oh my
Yeah,
goodness.
we're really pleased with the way Project Echo has partnered with us, and it's definitely been a labor of love on all sides because it's a big survey, and we do want to get that baseline. So we'll do this survey annually and then see,
Wow.
are things changing in terms of
Excellent.
families' perception of our
Yes.
programs, accessing our programs, and satisfaction with those programs.
Wow. Continued quality improvement.
Exactly. CQI.
Yeah.
Continuous quality improvement. That's the heart and soul of what we do.
Yes.
And that's a very strong Head Start principle. That's what Head Start, whether it's the self-assessment annually, the community assessment, you're always looking at that and using that to drive your strategies in your program. So I think that's deeply ingrained
Yes.
in me and how I operate.
I think us too. We love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what words of wisdom do you have to share with our listeners as they continue to work in the field of early childhood education and care?
Words of wisdom.
Words of wisdom.
Engage in everything that is available, and be there, connect, as you say, with other early childhood professionals, but take advantage of this moment in time and pursue your career, but really master your craft. Thank you. That was the word. And reach out and build relationships, build relationships with families, build relationships with your colleagues, and look for all the opportunities you can to advance your profession. And again, be engaged because we have a fight ahead of us. We've got to fight for better compensation for early childhood professionals. We've got to make the case. We feel like it should be made, but I think it's within our profession that we have to step up. And we have to step out and tell people our stories, the stories for you personally that they have gone through to get to where they are. I've had opportunities. Ole has brought together groups of early childhood educators. Their stories, they always start with their stories, and they're so impactful. So my words of wisdom are to tell your story, to share that story with others, and to become strong advocates, not only for yourself and for the children you serve, but for the field of early childhood.
Oh, I love that. So that makes me so happy. Just like hearing storytelling is so important.
It really is.
Through our whole life. I think about it, the storytelling and bringing that up in our families and, learning more about our great grandparents but really telling our own stories to connect, and really empowering early childhood.
Exactly.
And just connection. I love that you talked about that.
Yeah. And I think knowing that, as a field, there's so much more that's needed in terms of investments.
Yes.
And that it is, all of our responsibilities to speak up when we know about that, but to become, I think, more, what do I want to say? I think more aware of exactly how the field of early childhood has developed and how it's evolved and where we're heading next. I think to make those connections across the health and early childhood sector are also so important, and look for those opportunities again with the connection, and we know that early care and education professionals are this nucleus for families to all these other resources and services that they may need.
Yeah.
So see yourself as that person, and also make sure that you're getting the support that you need, and that we're all fighting and advocating for increased investments, more money in early childhood. Those are my words of wisdom. Engage, connect, and be that resource for families so that they can be engaged and connected to the work that they do, to their relationship with their child, and to the relationship that they have with their educators.
That's just so powerful too. The words of wisdom.
I was just thinking, I graduated 30 years ago from college. So
30 years ago?
Yeah. And just how, things just changing. And we kind of knew some of it then, but how we have to take that longitudinal perspective, because it takes so long to get perspectives to change and have that support, but to see that things that kind of we knew about then are really starting to roll and really get going, and just how
well, and I think you make a good point, Dawn, is that learning and what we've learned ourselves, but also through research, through neuroscience, how's that showing up in our policies?
Yes.
How are early childhood professionals really taking that and saying, whether it's a policy in our state statute, it's through statute or regulation, or is it my agency's policy? Is it how that my family handbook? Is it this, how is that neuroscience and that research showing up in our everyday policy and practice, both at the state level, but very much also at the local level and in our programs.
Yeah. And being that advocate and really, learning about it, like you guys said, like you have to learn and then be able to shift too. You have to shift your mindset. And
you have to. And a lot of people, it's amazing how many people still don't understand this critical and rapid period of development. And when we lose that opportunity, and that means that policies across the board have to change. I mean, how exciting is it that our Human Services Department just expanded Medicaid eligibility for moms 12 months postpartum. That's a policy change that had to be made, and that's going to support moms to be more, supportive with their child, and the child would have Medicaid, but she wouldn't. So things like that, or the expansion of our Medicaid-funded home visiting. So all these programs, but those start and end with policy decisions. And so our early childhood community needs to become very loud and vocal about the types of policy changes and the investments we need, because people are saying how can we need all this money? Well, you see it, we see it. There is investment in infrastructure, in pedagogy, in educational scholarship, in professional compensation. So a lot more dollars are needed. And we're excited that we have the trust fund and potentially the land grant permanent fund to support good policies and to support good practices. But without that, it will be challenging to build the world-class prenatal to 5 system we all want here in New Mexico.
We do. High quality.
Yes, high quality. Exactly. Thank you.
So before you go, we like to have just a little fun just to get to know you a little bit better and to kind of know, who the real Elizabeth Groginsky is when you're not wearing your cabinet secretary hat. So first, red, green, or Christmas?
Green, all the way.
What is your favorite children's book to read to children?
There's so many great ones, but I do love The Hungry Caterpillar.
That's a great one.
Because I think, first of all, the food and everything, but just the metamorphosis that happens for the caterpillar, and that the children are growing and they get so excited. So I got to actually see that at PB&J the other day when we were doing our spring tour, and the teacher was reading it. It reminded me how much I love that book and how the children were loving it too.
I love that.
I love Eric Carle.
Yes, I love Eric Carle. I got to read The Seahorse up in Las Vegas, which I had not read. That was a good one.
Yeah. That is a really good one.
Yeah, meets a lot of friends along the way.
Okay, so then what's your favorite place that you've visited so far in New Mexico, and what place do you most want to visit but haven't yet?
Okay.
So
every place I visited is my favorite. But I had a wonderful trip. It was kind of spontaneous. And we went to Las Cruces, and I had never been to that part of the state. And then we also got to travel to Sunland Park. And that was amazing because Daisy Lira treated us well, and we got some mariachis, and we got to see a new early Head Start childcare partnership site and have some amazing food and community. So that was just a great trip the whole way around to see Las Cruces and visit a couple childcare centers there. And then, of course, every place has been amazing for its own special way. And then ever since I got here, I've heard about the Bosque del Apache National Wildlife Refuge, where you can see the cranes. And I hear it's just supposed to be an amazing sight and an experience to behold. So it's on my list of a place that I would love to go. And I'm hoping I guess it's the fall into the winter is the special time. So I'm going to try to get it.
Well, we have to put a plug in here for your husband. Hey, this is a good date night.
Yeah, exactly. Got to get up early. exactly.
Yeah.
Morning, early
Exactly.
night.
What is the best live music concert that you've ever been to?
Okay. Well, just for the record, I've literally been to hundreds of live music shows. So I am a big fan of live music. I think music is so important to our emotional, spiritual well-being.
Yes.
And so I had the true pleasure and honor, and we didn't know, but it was the Grateful Dead's last show in Soldier Field in Chicago with Jerry Garcia in 1995. It was tremendous. Jerry was unbelievable. There were fireworks. We didn't know till later that he passed away shortly after that. But Red Rocks, I'm from Colorado. I've seen incredible shows there.
Yes.
Carlos Santana, Tracy Chapman, so many others that it's hard to name because there literally have been hundreds, possibly near 1,000 live shows that I've seen.
Wow,
in my life.
that's impressive. My goodness.
So I love live music, and that was hard during the pandemic.
Yes.
So we're excited to see My Morning Jacket is a favorite band. They're playing in Taos this summer. So at the Kit Carson Park, excited to go there and get excited again about being able to be in the community with people and have live music. I think New Mexico is an incredible place for music.
Yes.
It's definitely part of this culture, everybody's culture here.
Yes.
And so I love live music.
Well, I love that. We just want to say thank you so much for sitting down with us, enjoying this time with you. And it's been wonderful just being here with you.
Thank you,
so
Dawn and
much.
Katrina. This has been phenomenal. And thank you for inviting me and for helping me get the word out about the department and the spring tour and a little bit more about myself and my journey. And thank you for being such strong champions of early childhood.
Wasn't that so much fun getting to just have that interaction with the cabinet secretary and finding more out about herself?
Yes, Katrina, I loved sitting here and being able to talk with her and really feeling like we were getting to know her. I love her passion for early childhood and care and the families and children of New Mexico. And I really loved hearing about her spring tour and how she's taking in all the informations from everyone, every entity, such a diverse group of people that work with early childhood, school-based centers, community-based centers, infant toddler mental health, families, just hearing what's important to all of us so that way we can best support the young children.
I'm so excited, Dawn. Cannot be more thrilled about this. But I got to tell you, Dawn, one of the things that I really enjoyed is hearing her favorite book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar. That's one of my favorite books. So I just was really excited when she said that. I was like, what? We have something that's linked together.
Right. Making a connection, feeling closer, knowing that she loves that book. You love that book. I love Eric Carle. I love all of his books. So yeah, what a great way to connect us and to build relationships.
I can't wait for our next episode of Connection, the Heart of Early Childhood podcast. Tune in next time and hear who we will be interviewing next.